Very good. Welcome, and we'll start, of course, with our bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. And Rashi, again, is just trying to analyze some of the distinctions between this particular census and the one that took place. This one took place in Arvot Moav, right before they entered the land of Israel, and the other one, of course, took place in Midbar Sinai, in the wilderness of Sinai. So there's some changes, there's some differences, and Rashi wants to draw our attention to them and to explain them where he can. So we will get in here. Okay, B'nai Binyamin. So we're on to Benjamin at this point, right? The Mishpach.
What verse is that? Oh,
30. It looks like 38. Lamed Chet, 38.
Oh, okay.
Just do this.
Okay.
B'nai Binyamin, the children of Benjamin. The sentences are, of course, essentially, it's a list. So it's essentially just listing the same people. We're reading a list. The Mishpachotam, according to their families, the Vela Mishpachat HaBal'i, and to Sobela the Bal'ites, and LeEshbal Mishpachat HaAshbeli, LaAchiram Mishpachat HaAchirami. And of course, just to remind you that Benjamin originally had 10 sons, and clearly some of those sons and their families either got absorbed into other families or were extinct at this particular point. But we have some more. We'll get into some more. There's a Rashi here. La'achiram. So there's a distinction, right? But here he says, Hu Achi. So in that list, he's called Achi. And when you look at the names of the brothers who came down and their families who came down to Egypt, Shi'arad leMitzrayim, so he came down to Egypt, Ulefi shenikra al Shem Yosef, and because Benjamin named there's a midrash that shows that all 10 names of Benjamin's sons were based on Joseph and his history. Shahaya Achiv, because Joseph was Benjamin's brother, Veram Mimenu, and mightier or more significant, that higher than him, Nikra Achi Ram, my brother, my great brother, something like that. And now we go on some more children. L'shvufam mishpachat hashufami, l'chufam mishpachat hachufami. Chufam, the Chufamites, the family of, and here's the Rashi, Shfufam. Who, this Shfufam mentioned here, is the same as, one moment please, as Mupim. He's mentioned as Mupim, Al Shem Shahaya, again, named after Joseph, Shahaya Yosef Shafuf Bein Ha'umot. Because Joseph was weakened amongst the nations. I don't think this is a prophecy necessarily. It could be, because Joseph is the one who represents the northern kingdom subsequently. But we also, of course, see that once Joseph was sold into slavery, and one could certainly argue that this is based on how he was sold as a slave and became a slave and a servant in Potiphar's house, etc., that's what that was referring to.
But this doesn't have anything to do with Hupim and Mupim.
So he just says that the name is just different here.
But
it is in fact Mupim. That Shufam is Mupim.
Right. No, I understand that.
Right. Oh,
but I remember something else. I don't remember previously, or whatever, about Hupim and Mupim.
Right. We would have to go back to that, I think, original drush to show how they refer to Joseph's life. But yeah, I'm not, more than that I can't say. And again, you can see, so they're Shucham, so it's Mupim, but here it's So the next name is, Shucham, and that's Chushim, and we can see a transposition of these two letters of the Chet and the Shin there. Let's just see if I go back here. Right. Okay. Into the name. Vayu v'nei Vela. So again, grandchildren here. Ard v'Naaman. Ard and Naaman. Mishpachat ha'ardi. Lamanan. Naaman mishpachat ha'naami. And let's see if there's a Rashi. No, nope, not here. Not until
42.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. So Elam v'nei Binyamin, these are the children of Benjamin, lemishpachotam, according to their families, ufkudehem, and their numberings, chamisha v'arba'im elef, 45,000, v'sheish me'ot. And now I need the number given at the beginning of Numbers. Do you have that handy?
Yes, 35,400.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wrote them all in next to it, so I was prepared.
Great. Yeah, I was trying to be more prepared too, just not to take up the time, as you can see. All right. So again, a net gain of about 10,200 in this particular case. Elev v'nei Dan, so we get onto Dan, the mishpachotam, and we are talking about according to their families. And what's interesting is we've just got one person. So it says the children of Dan, but in every case it says Shucham. He just had one son, Mishpachat HaShuchami, the Shuchamite family. Ele Mishpachot Dan, the Mishpachotam. These are the families of Dan according to their families. I know there's a Rashi here. Let's just finish this up because it's so interesting. Look how large Dan is. Kol Mishpachot HaShuchami Livkudehem. So he even talks about the fact that they all descended from Shucham, the one son that Dan had. Arba'a v'shishim elef, fabulous number, 64,000, maybe third largest. Elef v'arba at 400. Okay, Golda, take it away.
62,700.
Yeah, even back then.
Did you mention the Rashi?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, it doesn't say much.
No, just identifies him with somebody else. Is
He
that
must
correct?
have had a ton of kids. That's all I'm saying. He
And
must have had a lot of kids and a
Possibly-
lot of wives, I guess.
I was going to say, that's where I was going. Yep. Okay, so 62.7, is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to be sure. All right. And then we have Shucham, just a very short comment, Hu Chushim, right? That's Chushim. Okay, just looking to see when our next one is. So we're just running through things. B'nai Asher, now we're onto Asher, the Mishpachotam, according to their families. So here we have Yimna, right? And the point that Rashi had made is that every name is surrounded by the Yud and the Hey. And because Yimna already is surrounded by a Yud and a Hey, notice it says Mishpachat Hayimna. Everyone else it's got has something E, right? Ha-bri-E. And here it just simply says Mishpachat Hayimna. And Rashi uses that as a proof that the Yud Hey is an intentional act. So B'nai Asher Mishpachatam, the Yimna Mishpachat Hayimna, the children of Asher, according to their families, the sons of Asher's, the Yimna family, the Yishvi Mishpachat HaYishvi, to Yishvi, the Yishvites, the family of Yishvi, the Vri'ah Mishpachat HaBri'i. It's just really straightforward stuff, at least the way we're looking at it. We're not trying to get a lot of significance out of these names, just seeing them as names. Livnei Vri'ah Lechever Mishpachat HaChevri, so we can see some grandchildren here. Vri'ah, Malkiel Mishpachat HaMalkieli. And Vishem Bat Asher Sarach, and the daughter of Asher, Asher's daughter, the name of the Asher's daughter was Sarach. It's a pausal form. Her name was actually Serach. That's in the non-pausal form. So here we go, Vishem Bat Asher, and the name of Asher's daughter. This is just sort of an interesting little fact. Lefi shahayta kayemet b'chayim mina'akan. So even though all this time later, right, she was Asher's daughter, but she was the Florence Metz of her time. So it was just incredibly, had survived until this particular point, and that's why she is being mentioned specifically by name, because she had survived up to this point. Let's see if we want. Here we are. Ela mishpachot b'nei Asher lefkudehem. All, this is just formula after formula with the census. So these are the families of the sons of Asher according to their counting. Shlosha v'chamishim elef. So 53,000 for Arba Me'ot. Golda, I'm ready for you.
Ooh, 41,500.
Yeah, so it's so interesting that some are larger, some are smaller. So 41,000, you said?
500.
Significant increases for those who increased and significant decreases for those that decreased. So, B'nai Naphtali, Lemishpachotam, according to their families, Yachzael, Mishpachat HaYachzaeli, Laguni, Mishpachat HaGuni, Layetzer, Mishpachat HaYitzri, Lashile, Mishpachat HaShilmi, just all these names of families, right? Ela Mishpachot Naphtali, Mishpachotam, Uvkudehem, Chamisha, V'arba'im Elef. So that's Chamisha is 5, Arba'im is 40, over Arba'im and 400. Okay, Golda.
53,400. They lost some.
Okay.
534.
All right, so we don't know why some gained, we don't know why some lost. We can guess as to why a few of them gained, but there we are. This is it. Ela Pekudei V'nei Israel, and here we come to the actual total now of the number of the Israelites. Shesh Ma'ot Elef, 600,000. The Elef, 601,000. Shesh Ma'ot, 600 Elef, 1,000. The Aleph and 1,000, so that's 601,000. Oops, I don't know why that happened. 601. It's doing it again. I'm hitting the 6, and that's what's happening.
Weird.
Yes.
You in a different language?
No. No, it's under US.
No.
Oh, there we
The
are.
carrot. Oh, do you have the yeah?
I didn't do anything. I just,
It just capped it. I don't know.
601,000. Sheva Ma'ot, 700 and 30. Sheva Ma'ot Ushloshim. That's the total there. Okay. And let's see. So Golda, the number from before.
603,000.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. Yeah, go ahead. Hold on a second.
Yeah. It's your shift key or something. Maybe it's getting sticky.
600
603 and 550. 550.
Interesting. So a net loss.
Of almost 2,000, but not yet.
Okay. All right. Good, moving on.
But not bad for wandering in the wandering in the wilderness all the time.
Yeah, but some of them got to be larger. That was sort of interesting. Just it is what it is. Okay. Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe lemor. So new but related subject actually. The Lord said, Hashem said to Moses, saying, "The Eile techalek, to these you shall," in other words, these, part of the reason for this census was to create an ability to divide up the land. Le'ele techalek, to those you shall divide haaretz, the land, b'nachala, with as an inheritance, b'mispar shemot, according to the number of names. So here we are. Le'ele techalek haaretz, to these you shall apportion the land. V'lo lefchutim miben isrim. So obviously there were people around who were less than 20 years old, but they were not given their own unique inheritance. Okay, only to these people. So anyone who was less than 20 at this particular time would have to be included in the family, with the father at that particular point. Af al pi, even though, despite the fact, sheba'u lechlal isrim, that they might have come to be 20 and older, beterem chiluk haaretz, prior to the land actually being divided. They could certainly be older than 20. So what it's being told here clearly is that it's only to these people that are mentioned and according to their census that the land is going to be apportioned. If they're younger, as I said, they will simply be included in their father's allotment. Okay, and even though their father may be deceased, it would be named after their father. Shehare Sheva Shanim, and he says, because in fact it took 7 years, Kivshu, that it took them to conquer the land. Vesheva Chalku, and it took 7 years to divide it up. Lo natlu chelek ba'aretz, the Ella Elu, okay, the only people who took an actual portion in the land, who were given a specific portion in the land of Israel, Elu Sheish Me'ot, this 601,000, and of course he's just taking it to the nearest thousand. V'im haya le'echad mehem shisha banim, and even if one of these people that are mentioned, right, had 6 children, 6 sons, lo natnu ela chelech avihem levado, they would only receive their father's allotment alone, and they would have to divide it up amongst themselves. They weren't that particular section. La'arav tarbe nachalato, to the numerous you shall enlarge their inheritance. Ulama'at, and to the fewer tam'it nachalato, you shall reduce their inheritance. Ish lafi pekudav, each person according to his numbers. Yutan nachalato, his inheritance will be given. Yutan will be given. So the Rav Tarbe, to the numerous you shall give much. Tarbe nachalato. Lashevet, to a tribe, shehu meruba ba'ochlusin, that had a high population. Natlu chele rav, they would get a large portion. V'afal pi shalu hayu hachalakim shavim, and despite the fact that these portions weren't exactly the same, shaharei hakol lefi rivui hashevet chalku. So in other words, what the point that he's making is that the divisions of the land tribally was not equal. It's not 12 equal portions amongst the 12 tribes. That's the point he's making. Says that's interesting. They did not share it in equal portions. Shaharei hakol lefi ribui hashev chaku hachalakim. That because it was according to the proportionate numbers in each tribe that they then divide a portion of the land. Ella al yedei goral, and they also did it by means of a lot, drawing lots. V'hagoral haya al piruach hakodesh, and that the lot was according to the divine spirit. Kamofish shemefurash Baba Batra, as is explained in Tractate Baba Batra, page 118. Elazar HaKohen haya meluvash ba'orim v'tumim. Elazar, the priest, the high priest, was dressed in the Urim and the Tumim. Ve'omer beruach HaKodesh, and says through the divine spirit, im shevet ploni ole tchum if X tribe, their border goes up, ufloni ole imo, and this particular person's, I guess the neighbor goes up with him, who the neighbor is. V'hashvatim hayuk duvim beyud beit petakim, and the tribes would write down on 12 pieces of paper or something like that. You understand? Just the 12 notes. The Yud Beit Gevulim, and 12, literally it means boundaries. The Yud Beit Ptakim, on these 12 notes. Uvelulam bekalpi, and they would put these into a kalpi, into a vessel, right? An urn. Vahanasi, and the prince of that tribe, Machnis Yadolo Tocha, would put his hand into it, Venotel Shnei Ptakim, and take 2 notes. So obviously, the way it was done was the notes, the names of the tribes. Well, I'm not sure. Yep. So it's going to go on and say that. So one would be the name of his tribe, and the other would be their particular boundary. Right? Would take Shnei Ptakim. They would take two little notes or pieces of paper, however you want to say that. Ole biyado, take it up in his hand. Petek shel shem shivto. The one would have the name of his tribe. Upetek shel gavul hamafurash lo, and the other little notes declaring what his particular boundary was going to be. V'hagoral atzmo hayat soveach. This is sort of very imaginary, and the lot itself would call out for Omer and say, Ani hagoral, I am the lot, aliti ligvul ploni, I have come up to declare the boundary of so-and-so, L'shevet Ploni, who belongs to X tribe, to this particular tribe, Shneimar, because it says in the Torah, Al Pi Hagoral. So they're taking the word by the mouth of the lot. So they're taking this very, very literally. At least the pshat would appear to be very literal. And again, if you were having troubles with Balaam's talking donkey, you might have some trouble here too. V'lo nitchalka haaretz, but the land was not divided b'midah, according to a measure. They didn't use a measure. Lefi sheyesh gavul mishubach mechaveiro, and the reason he's saying is that one has a better boundary, literally, from his neighbor, from his fellow. Ella b'shuma, but it was done by approximation. Beit kur ra keneged beit se'ah tov. So this is the way they did it. They looked at a beit kur, which would be a large area, and a kur would be the amount of grain, let's say, that you could harvest from that land. So they would estimate the value of a land by means of how much they figured you could harvest from it. So in a beit kur of land that was somewhat poor wouldn't give you, would take a lot of work to get a beit kur. Keneged beit se'ah would approximate beit se'ah tov, might be a smaller area, but it would, but nevertheless provide you with more grain. Is that what they're saying, or am I?
Can I read what it says here? Because it's a little,
Okay.
It says,
let me just finish.
okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Everything according to its value is what it seems to be saying. Go for it.
That part is definitely.
Please do. Please.
So it says the land was not divided according to measurements, but it was assessed.
Mm-hmm.
An inferior piece of land sufficient to sow a core.
Okay, so it wasn't a harvest. Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
To sow a core was equivalent to a superior piece sufficient to sow a se'ah, which is a 30th of a core.
Right.
And then, yes, it all depended on the value of the soil.
Right. So although I said it wrong because I was saying the harvest, but actually you'd be talking, I think, I'm trying to think of why they would look at it that way. Okay, but I'm thinking it is how much they would get from that land. What kind of harvest they would get from that land, and possibly that amount of area they required for a same ultimate harvest. I could be wrong, but that seems to me to make sense. Okay. But thanks, Lauren. I appreciate your saying that. Does anybody have anything to add on that? Okay, I will stop here, which is back here.
My husband said probably the amount of water around would probably have something to do with it too, but you know,
Could be.
but could be. I mean, if there's no water, or what about if you had goats or something and you were gonna be a herder and not a sower of,
Right.
you know, so
Right.
it depended, I guess, on what the land was, what it could do,
Yeah.
But the
what it could
goats,
do for a person. Yeah.
the goats have to, have the pasture, so you do need
Yep.
the water to have good soil for sure.
Yep.
But what they are talking about, so I mean, if they're talking about the quality of the land, by what criterion do we judge the quality of the land? And that's why I was saying, I mean, maybe it has to do with the quality of the fruit. I was thinking of it in terms of the amount of harvest you have, the quality of the harvest in terms of how much you harvest. But of course, mine is a guess as well. I'm going to stop the share for now.
But all that depends on the quality of the soil, so
Exactly.
you're both kind of right, so that's.
Well, that's why I was interpreting it that way, because it seemed to make sense that way. So I'm going to stop the recording here and give us